Good afternoon, everyone. And it's good to be in this space, really good to be in this space. And I'm always in awe of our French-speaking West Africans and Africans in general, how comfortable they are with speaking two languages, when some of us cannot even say bonjour, merci, and so on and so forth. But thank you so much, Aya, for hosting the summit here, and for all of you that came from all over in solidarity with this movement. So I have been asked to set the tone for the panel, titled From the Margins to Leadership. I can't see well. Survivors confront systems of power and anti-rights movements. And I very much look forward to what the panelists have to say on this, because for the past month, I have been occupied with this matter, especially on the issue around anti-rights movements. To assert that survivors confront systems of power is validating the political stance taken by many survivors and those who work with survivors to affirm, in the words of Angela Davis, I know you know the civil rights activist, that I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I am changing the things I cannot accept. Survivors are, on a daily basis, trying to change the things they cannot no longer accept, whether it's through breaking the silence on their experiences or advocating for justice. When survivors of violence confront power structures, they show how these structures and societal norms create conditions where violence against certain individuals, particularly women, I think a lot has been said about this today, and marginalized groups become normalized or even encouraged. The buzz last week in Freetown was around the issue of 3 15-year-old girls that were rescued from the house of a 57-year-old businessman, and the online response of a large number of Sierra Leoneans to this news. The victim blaming was at another level, and in many ways shows how we nurture a rape and misogynistic culture in Sierra Leone. 3 underage girls kept as sex slaves, that's what they're alleged to have happened, for 3 weeks. And the question people asked are, what were they doing at that place? Rather than, what is the 57-year-old man doing locking up 3 15-year-old girls in his house? How can these young girls confront systems of power when public education campaigns that challenge harmful societal norms that perpetuate GBV, such as gender inequality, victim blaming, and the normalization of violence, seems to be failing? The negative social media response reflects a violent tolerance to social discourse that deepens the injustices against women and girls, begging the questions, are these young girls going to get the justice they deserve? Interestingly, it is within this context that we have a parliament that is stalling on passing an amended Child's Rights Act law that is meant to provide full protection for children. Why? Because of a clause in the amended act that requires age of consent for female genital cutting or mutilation, as the case might be. Many would ask, who would not want a child to be protected from a practice many see as harmful? Sadly, the answer is our parliamentarians. And more dishearteningly, a huge chunk of our female parliamentarians who have failed to realize that violence in the name of culture disproportionately affects women and girls and validates and violates their human rights and bodily autonomy. The full protection of children lies squarely with the state, which is expected to prioritize the needs, the rights, the safety, well-being, and agency of these children. I eagerly wait to hear what the Minister of Justice has to say about this. On a related issue, it is no secret that there is a rise in far-right movements against sexual and reproductive health rights, and that seeks to undermine and roll back some of the most basic rights that women have attained. Anti-rights networks, actors, and movements are well organized, extremely well funded compared to progressive rights movements, and they are not always overt, So with such deep pockets, their ability to influence policies and laws, especially in economically challenged or struggling countries such as ours, cannot be overlooked. A few days ago, actually last Thursday and Friday, we had a big conference on strengthening families, at which hundreds of people participated, including state officials. Who will want to question the motive of a conference titled Strengthening Families and Empowering Women? Not many, I will say. But the reality is that we should, because encouraging women to revert to gender roles and norms that make them subordinate to men, and being against comprehensive sexuality education in schools is not about empowerment, but about extending patriarchal power and control. I have no problem with state officials attending such gatherings. But what I expected at that conference from a government that prides itself on championing women's rights through the enactment of many gender justice laws and policies, is for the state officials to reiterate the government's strides to ensure gender justice and proudly claiming the Safe Motherhood Bill that is also being held at ransom in Parliament, the revised Child Rights Act, and the Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Act, the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act, and so on and so forth, all of which may not sit well with the organizers of that conference. By amplifying these gains, the state will have sent a clear message that it stands firmly on protecting the bodily autonomy and agency of women and girls. And I hope maybe today our Minister of Justice will be able to do that for us. Thank you.